rugby league just continues to deliver. There is never a dull moment. We've got a huge show on tonight, Gordy, but we'll start with this. Jerome Luai firing shots on social media after Lachlan Galvin has been dropped for this week's game. What do we make of it, Gordy?
I like it. You know, I think that if I was playing with a guy, and I played with Justin Hodges when he signed with the Roosters. I remember the one that probably cut me the deepest was when Wendell left us after promising that he was going to stay in 2000 and went to rugby union. There's no doubt that you get gutted, you get this team, you get this brotherhood in a side, and I think where the Tigers are and their building, and Jerome Luai left a very successful club to come and help out one of them, I'd probably feel the same as him.
What did you two think of this Instagram post from Jerome Luai? Do you think it's good leadership? Do you like it?
Well, it shows how disappointed he is, doesn't it? It shows how obviously disappointed the team is. Because, you know, they beat the Knights on the weekend. The Tigers, who have had so much bad luck in recent years, and, you know, 3 wooden spoons in a row, they're finally back in the top 8. And then this explodes.
I love Jerome. He in a game where so many players are too scared to be themselves, he's unashamedly himself. He was one of the members of the leadership group that went to Benji Marshall this morning and said, we don't want Lachlan Galvin in this team. And Jerome's, you know, he's done it before. He's done it after Origins. He says what he thinks on social media, and that's just another way of him saying that we're not going to put up with Lachlan Galvin deciding not to play.
Well,
with us.
he knows what wins, right? Coming from a very successful organisation in Penrith, he knows everybody's got to buy in.
Well, he's done it right, hasn't he? 4 premierships in a row, comes to the club, shows great leadership, has made an immediate impact, and he's just pretty much said, if you don't want to be a part of this team, see you later. Work your way back in. Do we all agree with Jerome Luai then? We're all happy with
his Insta post?
Yeah.
Gordy, would you have ever put a Kendrick Lamar song on your Insta story?
He wasn't around, maybe Eminem in my time.
Bitch don't kill my vibe. Bitch don't kill my vibe.
No, listen, Instagram
That's what Bray says before we come on the show every week.
This is the new way that they communicate with each other. So, you know, back in the day, it was us, it was face-to-face, it was, you know, having a run-in at a bar, having a beer, and there was alcohol involved or whatever. So this is now, he's sitting at home, and this is the way that they communicate.
It highlights the furnace that Lachlan Galvin now sits in, though, doesn't it? Because, as you said, when you had teammates that made a decision to leave the club, you burnt for the whole season.
Yeah.
And this is the situation that a 19-year-old kid has now walked into.
We're going to dive a lot deeper into this situation very soon, and we've got Stephen Crichton coming up very soon. He's good mates with Jerome Luai, so we might ask him about that post a little later. But Lachie Galvin has released a statement. Let's have a look at it. Bear with me, this goes for a while. It was quite a lengthy statement from him and his father as well. I totally understand my decision will frustrate many West Tigers fans, but please know that it wasn't an easy call to make. It's a decision that I have discussed at length with my parents, closest friends and family. The biggest reason why I made this call now is so that the West Tigers have enough time to plan their roster without me in the future. That's the absolute truth of it. Any suggestion that I already have a deal done at another club for 2027 is simply not true. And then he goes on to say, I just feel that as I move into an important period of my development as a half, that I continue to build my game at a different club. Again, I know this might be hard for some people to understand, but I make this decision in the best interests of my career. Benji has made a call today to leave me out of the NRL squad, and of course, I'd love to be out there with the boys, but that's his decision as the head coach, which I have to accept. Benji said I was playing in New South Wales Cup this weekend. I said that whatever you think is best for the team, I'm okay with. Very interesting, guys, this statement from Lachie Galvin, a turn of events over the past 24 to 48 hours, I don't think anyone saw this coming right now, and it has set the rugby league world alight.
A fire.
A fire.
A blaze.
Burnt down the West Tigers.
It has. I don't think it has. I think it actually, if I'm a West Tigers fan, I see the silver lining in it, and it's that my club is stronger than it's ever been, and we're not going to be told what to do or dictated to by the biggest player agent in the game. That's exactly what it is. Because Isaac Moses does this at clubs. And look, I'm not going to. I should make it very clear, because everyone thinks that, you know, journos are aligned to certain player managers. I'm aligned to none. I dare say you're the same, Crawls. I haven't spoken to Isaac Moses in 5 years. So nothing I say tonight is going to be parroting what he's had to say. But Isaac Moses is a very controlling manager who gets his claws into clubs. He's got them at various ones already, Manly being one. And West Tigers just said, we're not going to be dictated to. So Shane Richardson was always going to have an offer on the table of around, the deal was about $6 million, as we've read in the last couple of days. But Shane Richardson knew if he was prepared to go to November 1 to test the market, that he was not going to be at the West Tigers. So instead of, you know, stuffing around and going on all year about whether he was going to be here or not, and then missing out on the market, because that's where the market is now, you've got to work a year and a half to 2 years in advance. The West Tigers have shown strength that they haven't had for a very long time.
I agree. I think it's standing strong. And I think it's a real shifting moment for the West Tigers. This, regardless of how bad,
unbelievable leadership.
And look at the response of the players. So they were going to pick him. As of last night, Shane Richardson and Benji Marshall were of the opinion that they were going to pick him, and it was the senior players that fronted Benji this morning and said, "We're not going to let him. We don't want to play with him." And then Benji Marshall told Lachlan Galvin to address the playing group. He did, and apparently they had to call an end to it because they weren't copying what was coming out of his mouth.
Really?
Probably like they're not going to cop that statement.
Wow, is that how it went down?
100%.
That statement looks like would be my homework these days, just all AI.
I am.
Well, it is hard to comprehend. It's hard to comprehend how a 19-year-old writes that. But you speak about the leadership of the West Tigers. No question in the world what they've done so far has been strong. I want to see it continue. I really hope Richo stands on his digs here and he makes a decision to keep Lachlan Galvin at that club until the end of his contract. What is he on? 350?
350?
Make him play out the next 2 years. Don't give another club a leg up. Make him play out, and you know what? You don't have to
start a GoFundMe.
You don't have to push him into second grade for the whole time. But when he gets to the point where the leadership group in that team start to trust him again, then you do what's best for the club. Gordy, I'll give you an example. You spoke about Wayne with Justin Hodges many years ago. I'll give you another example. When Anthony Milford wanted to go to the Broncos and he wanted out immediately, the Raiders refused to let him go, right? They refused to let him go. And they said, you're going to stay here. Under no circumstances are you leaving the club. Milford went back. You know what he did? He won the Player of the Year that year. 2014, he won the Raiders Player of the Year. Lachlan Galvin has an opportunity to come back from this and do what's right.
Hey, listen, and then all of us are behind the Tigers on this decision. Yeah. But the game, and when I mean the game, I mean all the other clubs, because it's going to happen to you at some stage. And I think the NRL, Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo, like, they've got to stand behind him. So, no,
he's already been deregistered, though, this agent.
Yeah, I know, but like, to stand behind
that's been deregistered twice.
He's back.
But in fairness to Isaac,
it's not $1 million player, right? It's 350 times two.
Sure.
So go start a GoFundMe, because I'd happy to be put in and say, no, seriously. So the kids need to learn a lesson. We can't just keep on having this happen to the weaker clubs. It's happened to the Tigers.
There is an overwhelming feeling out there amongst other clubs that they hope the Tigers do this right now. And you know what? They would chip in.
So you also don't release him?
I wouldn't release him, not unless they can leverage it for something better, but I don't know how that's really going to work.
No.
I don't know how that's going to work. And it's not like it's a huge amount.
He's only on 300.
It's not like it's a huge amount.
A lot of people are saying, and Reedy was one of them, let him go, you know, but this reeks of deliberate disruption.
Absolutely.
So this is a plan, right? If you read between the lines, it's a plan from the camp to disrupt, and that's what they've got. And now they get released early, they get big money at a Premier Club next year, and so on and so on. Reedy said he won't get more money, he will get more money. This is about money.
Sorry, did Reedy say last night he wouldn't get more than 300?
No. I think his verse was...
more than
the upgrade.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And plus he said the decision wasn't about money, it's about development.
But development, let's talk about development. Development, I think, how is he not going to develop under Benji Marshall, the West Tigers great, right? That's one. They've put Jerome Luai next to him, who's just won 4 premierships, next to Nathan Cleary, right? 2. You've got Appy Coruscant at 9, who's won a premiership, one of the premier 9s in the competition.
De Silva, his number 9 that he played all of his rep football with. Tell me how he's not going to develop in those
with those people around him. Now, the reports Galvin had a list of grievances around the club and Benji, and he went to Shane Richardson, I believe, with
Isaac
Moses.
yes.
Moses did, not Galvin. Talk us through this.
So he went to him. He had a list. I think it was 7 points, and the way it's been explained to me, Isaac got through a couple about Benji, and Richo said, "Don't want to hear it, mate. That's enough."
So who made the points though? Was it the manager or was it Galvin?
Well, this is the thing. So when I want to wait to hear when Lachlan Galvin does his lightweight interview with some journo who's close to Isaac Moses, and when he sits there, I want to say explain exactly what your grievance is with Benji Marshall. And then ask if it's real, and then maybe ask the question: is it got anything to do with the fact that your manager, Isaac Moses, doesn't like Benji Marshall?
Well, this is what.
But that might be getting a little bit closer to the heart of why Lachie Galvin isn't going to be at the West Tigers anymore.
Let's stick with this, right? Because a lot of people out there wouldn't know this, right? So apparently, Moses and Benji don't get along. Is that true or not?
That's what you hear.
Okay.
And when did that start?
That also depends on who you talk to, but I don't think the way that Clemmer and Bateman left the club pleased the Moses camp. Yeah. I don't want to be like say this. I want to say this about Isaac. I want to say this about Isaac, right? Isaac is renowned as the biggest manager in the game. Mm-hmm. He's also was renowned as one of the most difficult to deal with. There's been plenty. In terms of numbers or in terms of the plays, whatever. But Isaac, in many ways, is just working within the rules. This is how the system is. The system is set up that you have to work so far in advance in terms of your roster, and it puts all the power into the hands of the player managers. And the NRL and the RLPA have been talking about fixing this and getting rid of that power balance for years. And they've never, ever touched it. They've never done anything about it.
Where it really stinks is Lachlan Galvin is entitled to think another club may give him a better shot at making the most of his career. But where it stinks is that all the major news outlets at the moment are reporting the same angle of the story, that Benji Marshall is the problem. Benji Marshall is not the coach.
So unfair.
It is so unfair because it's not just a stain on Benji, it's a stain on the Tigers. Mm-hmm. It's a stain on the club that has brought this fella through. When Parramatta didn't see a future in Lachlan Galvin, the West Tigers did. And they've spent years getting him to this stage. They gave him an opportunity to come and play first grade last year. He really has stood up. He's an obvious talent, but it's not fair. And in years to come, he'll regret what he's done.
Tell me this: how does a 19-year-old kid who has just come into first grade and has only had the one coach in Benji Marshall and has given him this opportunity, who does he compare Benji Marshall to? Who has he played underneath and has coached him to tell him that he's not developing or there's a better coach out there?
I'm pretty sure I've seen him do an interview. He goes, Benji jumps in the drills and he kills it. Like he's better than us. He throws cut-out balls. He sets up more tries than me.
Well, which 19-year-old in the world starts compiling a dossier against your coach? Like, did he come up with that?
And he's only been his coach for a year and
look
6
where
rounds.
he's come in that time.
That's right. And I just find it so weird at the time when the club's on this sort of trajectory. Like, why now? Why have you decided that this is the place to be?
Because it's obvious that...
Are we hanging Lachie out when we shouldn't be hanging Lachie?
That's the thing. That's what I want to hear.
Managers are hiding
That's what I hear.
DCE got hung out to dry.
Sure.
Luke Brooks, the poor bugger, right?
Yeah.
And to me, this smells a bit like Luke Brooks, that where Lachie Galvin's going to go. He's going to have this Luke Brooks where he's just going to get judged.
There's a part of me, Gordon, that feels really sorry for this fella because he's
part
19.
I agree.
And he's paying good money
but
for what I consider bad advice.
But he's got his father, and a father and son love should be a stronger bond than anything. And his father's in on us.
You don't know what his father's background is. You don't know how much experience he's had dealing with this. Again, you go back to the fact you employ a manager to do the right thing by you.
You must know how Ben Hunt got affected by the money tag. You must know how Ash Taylor, a young kid, got affected by the money tag. You look at DCE right now at 37, how it's affected him. You must look at all those situations.
But DC was affected by the lack of, I think, urgency to sign him and put a deal in front of him. It wasn't so much the money.
But then it's the media noise now.
This goes beyond money because even the Tigers were willing to give him $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Money's not the issue here. It goes beyond the money.
The issue I've got...
It goes to bad blood.
I said it last night. if I'm his agent, right, I'm saying that's an amazing offer. Thank you for the offer. But the mindset of my player right now is focused on this week's, next week, and the week after's game, and trying to get us to the semis and win a competition or get close to whatever. Do our best. At the end of the year, we'll reassess and reevaluate it, and we'll talk to you then. That would have been my response.
Are you leaving $6 million on the table unless you've got a pretty strong idea of where you're going to go next?
You said it, not me.
Well, I'm saying it, baby.
Yeah, well, there it is.
You run with it.
Let's be honest.
Just play off me for the rest of the show, Braith.
I love having you on, Webby.
I love you, Sue.
And you're in a mood
I love
tonight. Do you like this? Okay, let's get back on track, right, Webby? Brown sugar. Okay, whether it's true or not, will this impact not only the Tigers but Benji Marshall, his coaching, his ability to get players to the club?
No.
I think the way they've fallen behind him as I said, in a terrible situation, that's the silver lining for the Tigers.
You know, though, Webby, the one thing that could derail the Tigers is the fact that Lachlan Galvin has been playing very good football.
He has.
And if it gets to the stage where they don't pick him from here on in, and the Tigers season goes from being 7th on the table to falling out of playoff contention, that does affect Benji. It does in the long run.
I reckon they build a bit more than that. I reckon with Luai, Appy and the guys around, they got a couple of young halves.
I think we all agree, though, at the end of last year, after what happened, the Tigers picked up their third wooden spoon. They needed a better season. Benji needed a better season. It certainly started that way. And it's just a shame this is now derailed. It has. Look, I hope it doesn't, and I think they've got enough resources there with other players like Dewey and young Latu Fainu down the track to pull themselves out of this. But look, there's no question in the world, Benji's in a worse position right now than he was last week.